I'm Pastor Jake. I want to welcome everybody today. I hope everybody's having a great weekend and have a blessed week. This week, there's been a lot of changes in our lives. We're moving for our church and everything is moving, and we want to just invite y'all and welcome y'all to it because we're changing the name too. We've been Be the Light 365 for quite a while now, for quite a few years actually, and we decided that since this was going to be a new move for all of us, we wanted a new name. So we decided to come out, and our new name will be Bible Fellowship Church of Covington, because that's where we're going to be moving to. And we just want to welcome everybody. We want everybody to have a blessed week, and we just want everybody to join us. When we get everything done, get everything set up over there, we just pray that y'all, if y'all can make it, we want y'all there. If you can't, tune in with us. We're still going to be doing the videos. Be the Light 365 is actually going over to the women's ministry, and we're going to have a men's ministry, which is Pilgrims of Christ. So we're going to be building up here. We're going to be growing, and we want to grow. That's what we're here for, is to get out there and make disciples of the world. Today we're going to talk about youth. And what I mean by this is youth in God. You know, me and my wife, we went to a place called St. Augustine's, Florida. Now, St. Augustine's is one of the oldest cities, one of the oldest towns. You know, it has the oldest fort there. But one thing that they have there is the Fountain of Youth. Ponce de Leon, when he was out looking, and that's what they did. There were several went and looked for the Fountain of Youth. Well, they found these native tribes, and they were, even though they were, some of the guys were old, they were moving they can get around. They had no problems. So the deal was that they thought it was the water. Ponce de Leon thought it was the water. They thought this is what we're doing. This is the Fountain of Youth. And that's how he went back to Spain. That's what he told Spain, that I found the Fountain of Youth. Now we know that's not correct, because we can see today that, you know, not everybody in St. Augustine lives to be 120, 130, 140 years old. But the thing about it is, there is youth though out there. There is youth in God. You know, I see this because what all brought this on was I was watching Lord of the Rings. It's one of my favorite books and everything. And during this one part, this king had let evil into his life so bad, and he was being held over by the spirits so much that he looked like he was 100 years old. Well, when the light, it's funny how they use light. Now I got to tell you something. J.R. Tolkien, he was a Christian. He was in the war. He was a Christian. He was a writer. He used a lot of influence about God in it, because he always talked about the light. So when the light hit this guy, this king, and the evil spirit was, the hold was broken, the man came back to normal look. He looked like he was back in his 40s, not 100. And it looks, and I've seen this in people, you know, in the ministries we've done. I've seen people who look like they were in their 60s, and I'm talking to them, and they're like 30 years old. I'm thinking, how is this? It's because letting that darkness inside you, letting that evil inside your heart, it will pull down you, and it'll grow you old quick. And this is why I say God is the Fountain of Youth for us. He is the everlasting life. And we don't really ever think about like that. We don't think about darkness coming in and creeping on us. I know guys in the church who are in their 90s that are still moving around doing things. They believe in God, and they're on fire for God. Been on fire for God. But they're in their 90s moving around. Will they die? Yes, everyone dies. Like I always tell people, even all the graveyards and cemeteries, they're still full of pastors and priests and evangelists and everything else. Everybody has an expiration date. No matter what day it is, it's not ours to know, it's God's. Our job is keep moving forward and not letting this darkness in. And we're going to be talking about that, because first thing in Deuteronomy chapter 34:7, you know, it says Moses was 120 years old when he died, and his eyes was not dim. nor his natural force abated. It means he was still vibrant when he died. He still could think or had a clear mind. He wasn't, confused. He wasn't, but he let God in. His conscience was still on fire for God. Up to the day he died. He still died, don't get me wrong with that, but he lived his life in good, in joy. Now, I've talked about this before, that if you're letting worrying get into you, Jesus said it himself, you cannot add one day of life to your life by worrying. There's nothing you can do. Most time you can do nothing about it. You can sit there and worry about it until the cows come home, but there's nothing you can do about it. I've seen people worry about simple things. I've seen people worry about stuff that they don't even need to be worried about. I know this one person kept talking about, they're about to starve to death. When I asked them, I said, well, don't you have some money in your lockbox? Yes, but that's mine. They'd rather starve than use their money. They're more worried about starving to death, but when they had something, just like most people, you have God there and you don't use him. You don't use the Holy Spirit. You don't use God in any way. You just think God's just sitting there doing nothing for you. That's the thing is, you think God is doing nothing for you when he's there fighting for you daily. We don't see the wars that's going on around us, but we worry about it so much that sometimes we make ourselves sick. I've done that before, made myself sick worrying about something that what's bad didn't even come, didn't happen. But I was worried about it so much that I was making myself sick. I wasn't feeling good. And God kept telling me all through this time, it's funny, is God kept telling me, I've got this. Don't worry about it. Go on and do what I told you to do. Because see, that's what the devil wants you. He wants you to worry about everything, because if you're worrying about stuff, you're not thinking about God. You're not letting God do what he needs to do. Or we'll hand something, I used to be bad about this, is handing something to God and say, God, I need you to take care of this because I can't handle it. And then a few minutes later, hour later, I come back and say, God, let me have some of that back. I need something to worry about. That's what we have to do in our life, is hand it to God and leave it. Let him take care of it. He's got it. There's some things you cannot worry about. That you can worry about it all the days of your life. One thing, and Jesus does say, is that don't worry about what's behind you. We sometimes worry about what's behind us, our past. We can't change it, but we worry about it. Well, I done this years ago. Well, are you going to do it again? No? Then why are you worried about it? If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. We have a mediator for us, and that's Jesus Christ. He'll come in. We have a Holy Spirit that will tell us, hey, don't do that no more. You made a mistake. It's okay. Move on. Try to correct the error. Not keep dwelling about the past. Don't worry about what you can do, because Jesus says tomorrow has enough problems and it has its own worries then. Like, we're always worried about tomorrow. Well, what are we going to do tomorrow? What about today? You ain't even finished it yet. It's 10 o'clock in the morning and you're already worried about tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Worry about today. Tomorrow has its own worries. In 2 Timothy 2:22 says, flee also youngful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace, with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. See, lust will get us get us into a lot of problems. It also put a lot of years on our life. We see this, Jesus talks about this, or actually Paul talks about this over, and he says, we're never tempted by God. We're tempted when we're carried away by our own lust. When we start putting the world on us, the world is a bad place. It has been a bad place from the beginning because it was sin entered into it. That's why there will be a new earth. Why? Because this one is tainted. So there's always going to be things of this world that's going to try to come on you. But that's why God says armor up. That's why he says to put on the armor of God, to shield yourself away from fiery darts in this world and the darkness of this world. You had to put light into your life. That's what keeps you young. When you got that light in you, you're going to feel young. You're going to feel joy. You're going to feel peace. You're going to feel rest. When you go to bed at night, you're going to rest all night because you have peace in you through the Lord. And when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have joy. Now, the first thing you want to turn to is sadness, and then it's going to start making you feel old. It's going to start creaking your bones. It's going to make you feel like you're 100 years old when you're not. In Psalms 103.5 says, "Who has satisfied the mouth with good things, so that the youth, thy youth, is renewed like the eagles." In other words, we'll feel joy, we'll feel light, we'll feel like we can fly to the moon if we wanted to. That's the problem, is that we're not putting enough joy and peace and faith and charity into our lives. All we're doing is putting darkness, misery, pain, fear into our lives, and it's bringing us down. Like I said, I've seen people in these ministries where they've let drugs into their life, and these people look like they're in their 60s when they're in their 30s, 20s. I thought a person one time, I thought they were like in their 50 years old, at least 50s, and they were 20 some years old. Why? Because they let that darkness in. It made them, like I said, made them like on Lord of the Rings. It made him look like 100 years old until he was broke free. Now, this is what gets you. Is after they were broke free from this, they started looking like they're back in their 20s. They started feeling like they were in their 20s, doing stuff that they would never done. See what this stuff does, this sin and this darkness does, it gets you depressed. It makes you just want to lay around, sleep all the time. And you don't need to do that. You don't need to let this darkness in. We need to keep walking in the light. And that's why in John chapter 12, verses 35 through 36, and then Jesus said unto them, "Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goes. While ye have the light, while ye have the light, believe in the light, that you may be the children of the light." These things spoke Jesus, and departed, and hid himself from them. We are the children of the light. Then why are we always sad? Why are we always down? We always think the world, we're the Chicken Little of Christians. We're always thinking the world is going to fall upon us. Oh, the sky is falling every day. Why are we worried about something we can't control? I remember a person asked me one time, they said, "Well, I just don't have the money." I said, "Can you get it today?" "Well, no, but I've got to get it, but you know." And I think, if you can't get it today, then why are you worried about it? Try to sit down with God and figure it out. But they didn't. They let it do it, and they were sick and they were miserable, and the first thing they want to do is complain, and then they were griping, and then they were blaming God for all that. That's how it does. That's how the devil does. He gets a little bit of darkness in there, and it starts growing until you want to start blaming God. You want to blame God for everything. It's God's fault. It's God's for this. It's God. Well, God didn't tell you to do this. God didn't tell you to do that, but you did it anyways. Most time He's telling you not to. Sometimes He tells you to do stuff and it doesn't make any sense, but He's got it and He's taking care of it. It might not look like it's going to happen, but you got to put your faith in God, that He says what He says He's going to do. that he knows what he's going to do. He knows what he can see the beginning and the end. He knows the timing. See, we worried about sometimes the timing. We'll get so worked up about the timing that, Lord, we just can't handle this. That, you know, we need to do it now. We need to do it now. Do we do it now? But then when I've done that myself in my lifetime, I found out, guess what? God knew the timing because he had it perfect. When it happened, it was like, whoa, because it opened more doorways than I would have ever imagined. In Romans 13, chapter 12, it says, the night is far spent. The day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. The reason why God says there's an armor in Ephesians chapter 5, why he says this, is because we need to suit up. It is a battle every day. The devil is not going to take a rest. Demons are not going to take a rest. These fallen angels ain't going to take a rest. What's going to happen is they're going to keep fighting. Now, we have angels out there fighting for us. God says that he has put angels in charge of us, and they're fighting. But the thing about it is, on ourselves, we got to quit letting the darkness in. Quit letting it in our life. Quit letting it in our hearts. It's unfruitful for us. And Ephesians chapter 5, verses 11 through 14 says this, and I have no fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness. In other words, people we let in our lives sometimes bring a lot of darkness in it. They don't mean to sometimes. Sometimes they don't even know they're doing it, but they will, because they're not listening to God. But rather reprove them. Now that word reprove means a strong expressed disapproval or criticism, often in loving and corrective way, with the aiming and guiding of someone towards righteousness or conviction of their faults. That's it. Reprove them in a loving kind of way. You don't have to just scream at them, holler at them, and tell them, leave by. You can say, look, I don't approve of what you're saying. I'm sorry, but I can't be around you. That's what reproval is. That is telling somebody that you need to step back from them. For it is a shame even to speak of these things which are done of them in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest in life. In other words, when you're telling somebody, say, look, I can't be around you. I'm sorry, I wish I could, but you're bringing a lot of darkness in, and I don't want it no more. You're telling them because eventually God's going to work on them. But on you need to understand. You don't think it's conceited, you might think it's not, but God is working on you, and he doesn't want you to fall in with bad company. What's the 1 Corinthians says, evil company corrupts good habits. And it goes on to talk about it's our shame because it's our fault it's happening because we don't reprove of people. What we do is we forget it or we just kind of ignore it and we just let it go. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to tell people, hey, I'm sorry, I love you, but I can't be around you. For whatever so doeth maketh manifest in the light. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepeth, and rise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. God will put light in your life. He'll put youth in your life. He will extend your days, as he says. He will provide for you. He will give for you if you just let him do it, not you. You can't do it by works. This is not a, way God shows it, and way like James even talks about it. He talks about it. I'll show you my faith by my works, because you're doing something out of the heart, not out of the mind, not out of you're trying to please God. We need to please him from the heart. We need to do it because we love God. We just want to do it to help people, not to get something from them, not to use them for good rewards. All rewards come from the heart. That's why they don't burn up when we're in the fire. The last one I'm going to do And I'm going to tell you about youth here. It's from Ruth, chapter 4, verse 15. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of life, a nourisher of thine own age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better than 7 sons born unto you. Now he's talking about Ruth. Ruth's daughter-in-law, Ruth was the daughter-in-law of Naomi. Naomi was feeling down. She wanted to be called Mira because she just felt so drained because she lost her sons, her husband, and there was nothing left. She had one daughter-in-law that stayed with her. But after she stayed there and they both went back to Israel, and they both started, living. Ruth had a baby, and this is what this is about, is that Naomi felt young again. Her youth was restored to her. Even though she had missed out on years and years and years, now it was given back to her. That's how God is. He gives her back. He's not a taker. That's the devil. God is a giver. He's a giver of life. He's a giver of happiness, joy, peace, rest, charity. And that's what we have to put in our hearts. This light to shine bright. He will renew our days. This is the last one. 2 Corinthians verse 4 and 16. For which causes we not faint not. But though our outward man perish, this body will never inherit the kingdom of heaven. It's going to perish one day. Yet the inward man is renewed day by day. Day by day, we are built up. Day by day, life is increased in us. Why? Because we have life. And that is the Son of God. He is the light, He is the truth, and He is the only way. Jesus is the only way. He gives life, He gives happiness, He gives joy. We just got to keep letting the light in. He is He is the true fountain of youth, of living water for us. This is where it comes in. Is all these people always want to extend their life when they could easy by Jesus Christ. I hope y'all have a blessed week. Y'all need any prayers? We'll be praying for you. We love you out there. You're always in our hearts. Y'all have a blessed day.